I'm Ben, and you're probably here for a spoiler-free guide to Outer Wilds Echoes of the Eye DLC. Before we begin, note that this guide is split into sections. There's a warning in between each section so you don't go too far and see something you're not supposed to see yet. There are also optional tips sections that can be referred to if you get stuck with any of the mechanisms or have trouble with some of the general concepts that don't get taught to you. This expansion is definitely harder to understand than the base game, so don't be afraid to ask me a question in the comments. I'm happy to provide any extra help that you might need. First, the game explicitly tells you that there's a new exhibit on Timber Hearth. After you read about the satellite, note that you can actually see it in the galactic map. Now, you could track it and head there, but I'd recommend stopping by this location, also on Timber Hearth, and note the pictures on the wall and their labels. Then, check the dish to get the signal and follow your signal scope to the satellite. Once there, recreate the strange photo you saw at the Timber Hearth station and, well, no spoilers here, obviously, but it's pretty cool. When you've arrived, land your ship and follow the path ahead to enter the Stranger, the spaceship you've just discovered. Take your time playing with the light puzzle, since it's a good primer for how the mechanisms are going to work in this expansion. So, congratulations! You've reached the main location for the DLC. To get back here quickly each loop, mark the location using your ship's computer, and you can head directly there off of spawn. You'll actually enter the Stranger from the opposite side, assuming you follow a straight path to it from Timber Hearth, the only difference being that you end up on this shore, just a few strides away from the building you previously emerged from. Next, you're going to have to explore all the buildings on the Ring World. There will be some quick tips in a second to make sure you get to all the things you need to see, but before I set you free to explore for yourself, I recommend that you explore this area last. Standing atop the dam, you can see here that to get there, you follow the right-hand wall on this river ride section. Again, you should definitely go here last, since the info you'll find there is a great jumping-off point to enter the next leg of your journey. Okay, now for those tips so you don't end up getting stuck. These projector machines require a film reel and a lit lantern. Don't waste your time trying to use a flashlight to look through them. I killed like 2 hours trying to do this, so just don't try that. Next, when the dam breaks, a lot of buildings will become completely inaccessible. I restarted the loop a handful of times simply because I didn't want to deal with this, so don't hesitate to do the same if it helps you out. Make sure to keep an eye out for reels, though. They're never super hidden, but they might be out of the way, like this second one in the early house, or this one in the wreckage of the house by the reservoir dam. As you enter that final area I mentioned, you might get stuck trying to get into the bottom section of this building, especially if you haven't played all of the base game. Remember that your scout emits light that interacts with doors in the exact same way that your flashlights does, and you should be good to go. Now that you've seen the whole breach reel, you've got to go find the breach itself. Make sure to be thorough while searching the location because it contains the most important piece of information that you'll get throughout the entire expansion. Note what the Stranger's inhabitants do in front of those sinister green fires, since you'll need to do it yourself in a few moments. Now, the game really branches out here, but to keep things cohesive and to make sure the narrative goes smoothly, I recommend you stop by the Gorge's Ritual Room. It's right near you as you exit the lab, so as soon as you see that green fire, you know what to do. Welcome to Dream Walking. You should be in an otherworldly version of this very canyon, with a beautiful starry sky above. Explore to your heart's content, but keep an eye out for unlit candles on the ground, these strange mechanisms that you've probably seen in reels earlier, and these hand things, as all of them can be interacted with using the focus function of your artifact. Get through the Cliffside Lodge, and I'll see you on the other side. Once you've made it through the lodge, take the elevator down and ride the raft around. You'll want to go all the way through the boat's path, since this will unlock a bunch of entries in your ship's log, as well as get you familiar with the layout of the dreamscape. There are 2 places along your journey where you'll be able to hop off the raft, and you really should stop at these spots. One has a bit of walking to do, and a few things to see, and the other has a door blocking you from actually going anywhere. Remember that one for later. Now, things get a bit more complicated. Depending on how intrigued you are with the dreamscape, you might want to explore the other ritual rooms, one in the lowlands and one in that big cylindrical tower. Each leads to a location you saw on your raft ride and has a ton of places to explore. Exploring these areas now and familiarizing yourself with their layouts actually helps out a lot in the coming steps, but please note that there's not really anything to find in there at this point. Don't go in expecting to solve every puzzle and see everything, just explore until you're satisfied. Or skip it for now, it really is up to you, but you will have to do it later. Regardless, make sure the reservoir is the last place you visit. Specifically, the submerged structure, the vault, or as I named it during my playthrough, the bell. Make sure you've checked the building right next to it to figure out how to enter the bell, and you'll see that when you dreamwalk, you'll actually be inside the structure, just like those figures you saw earlier when you were a little baby dreamwalker. There's really only one contraption you know how to interact with at this point, so turn it till it strains and check out what seeps out. So, that painting, huh? More specifically, those lights extinguishing themselves. You definitely can't turn them off in the waking world, so grab an artifact if you don't have one, and head to the ritual room below the tower. This is where exploring the other Dreamscape locations would help you out, but if you didn't check them out earlier, no big deal. Check back in with me once you've got the room open, though. Now clearly the codes you needed to unlock the vault in the Bell's Dreamscape are gone, but you got 2 other codes at least. First, check out the building next to the reservoir to use 1 code. This is really just a little bit of flavor info, not that important, so we're doing it first to get it out of the way. Then, regroup at the gorge to use the Flaming Reel code. After checking those displays and viewing that reel, you've got 3 new secret locations to search. Since you're already at the gorge, go check that one out first. There's an entrance between the 2 broken floors and the elevator shaft. There's a lot to unpack here, so take your time, and don't leave until you find out where you need to go next. Now you need to know these Dreamscape places inside and out. This goes for every coming step, so take some time to explore them if you haven't already. As for the lodge, you've seen what to do, and you've seen where to go. One thing before you start, though. Extinguishing the lodge extinguishes the bridge inside of it, too, so there's no use in lighting it before you follow your new route. If you need extra help, the next section gives some tips, but definitely try this on your own first. Okay, so on screen is the route you can take to get past the stealth section without too much trouble. It's a bit hard to see, obviously, but first you should bait this pursuer to follow you down the hall and sneak around him to the door in the back of the room. Next, dash across this hall before you're seen. Then you'll have to sort of wing this next room. It's big, but has a ton of things to hide behind if you get spotted. Light the bridge into existence at the back, and then work your way into this side passage near where you first entered. Alright, home stretch. Dash through this doorway where the painting used to be, and take a leap of faith on this invisible bridge. The pursuer shouldn't follow you, but be quick. You've reached the Forbidden Archive. Take a look around and view the reels on display. They'll show you how to access the code that's nearby. Then, on to the next secret location. Since you get the gist at this point, I'll go over the other 2 locations a lot quicker. The second secret room is in a little cove over the cliffs by the tower. You'll find it's very similar to the first. Find the hidden reel, just like last time, break out of the room, and view it at the nearby projection theater. This should lead you to a new location in the Starlit Cove, so head for the tower's ritual room once you know what to look for. Again, it helps massively to be familiar with the layout of the Dreamscape areas, so you can beeline to where you need to be. If you never figured out the statues, just sneak by them like you did with the Pursuers. There won't be a stealth guide for this section since it's really short, and nowhere near as taxing as the last one. Our final secret location, or Location 1 as the ship insists, is again really easy to get to. It'll show you a reel with another secret location in the Dreamscape's Shrouded Woodlands. This one's a bit tricky, so give it a watch and then check back in with me. First things first, the flood poses a bit of a problem, since if you're in the nearby ritual room, you'll get woken up by the torrent of water demolishing the building. Remember way earlier when I mentioned that door that blocks you from exploring after your first raft ride? You'll be able to extinguish that door from the Shrouded Woodlands before rafting over from another ritual room. I prefer the tower, personally. Next, that reel showed a procession heading to the party house. There's not really a procession, so to speak, but if I were a pursuer, I wouldn't want to miss the party, even if all my friends were already there. Maybe don't crash it, though. Something tells me they'll clear out pretty quickly. At this point, you should have visited all 3 Forbidden Archives, but it seems the codes you were searching for are nowhere to be found. But you've learned a lot, haven't you? Maybe you don't need the codes after all. If you're really having trouble, just think back on the 3 error logs you found in the archives. And that should do it. You have everything you need to finish the DLC. Just a final note, it changes the base game's outcome, so go reach the Eye of the Universe one last time. Just like I said at the beginning, if you're sitting on any lingering questions, just shoot me a comment down below. I'll help out as much as I can. In case you haven't noticed, this is my first real video. I was really passionate about putting it together, so if you thought this was worth your time, please subscribe to the channel and check out my Twitch at the link below. I'm live 3 to 5 times a week on there, and I love talking to you all, so come stop by if you're interested. Oh, and there's a link to the community Discord as well, so join that if you want to keep up with what I'm up to. Link is in the description, same as before. On that topic, more content soon, I promise. And, of course, have an amazing day.